Hey guys, welcome to this week's reading check-in, and I have a lot of books this week, and unfortunately my excellent reading streak, while I had some great reads this last week, it didn't completely continue. I have a lot of DNFs to share today. Yeah, I think we're gonna start with DNFs, and then I'm realizing my stacks are kind of not in great order, and then we'll go with like general fiction, middle grade fiction, and then we'll do manga and then nonfiction. So my DNF stack is this large, and I always struggle with quitting a book because I know sometimes they can pay off, but some of these I felt like they were putting me into reading slumps. Some of them just had content I wasn't interested in, so let's go from there. First one is Codename Lise. This is a non-fiction story about, her name was Odette Sansom. She was a spy in World War II, and it sounds really intriguing to me. I didn't get very far, and then I just realized, well, I want to learn more about spies and espionage, and I don't really want to read an entire book on one person. I would rather read a book this thick with 10 different people so I can get a little glimpse of all of them. I don't need to know so much about one person. So that's why I ended up quitting this one like really early on. I got to chapter 3. I read 30 pages. So this one, if I DNF a book, generally if I'm not going to keep it, if it's mine and not a library book, it just ends up in a little free library and maybe someone else will enjoy it. Let's kind of go in the order here. I think this was my next DNF. This is Murder at the Flamingo. I was interested in this because it is a historical mystery story, and apparently it's supposed to be Christian fiction, but as far as I read, there was nothing to make it Christian whatsoever. We followed a man who was going to go live with his cousin because he was kind of throwing a tantrum and getting away from his parents, and then there was also this girl that worked for this man, and I think they were going to be the detectives of the story, but they hadn't even met, and I was maybe 70 pages in, and I wasn't interested in the writing. The characters weren't very interesting. They actually talked a lot about their flaws and not anything that was very good about them, so I didn't really like them. And then they hadn't even met yet, and never mind like finding out what the mystery is. So I decided to move on. Then I tried Girl Waits with a Gun. This is another historical mystery. This one I found in a little free library, and I don't think I would have bought it, but I thought I'd give it a try. And no, I didn't get very far in this one either. Really wasn't enjoying the writing, and this is supposed to be based off of the first sheriff in the States, possibly. One of the US's first female deputy sheriffs. So that sounded interesting, but like she was not likable, and yeah, wasn't enjoying that one. She hadn't even become a sheriff yet, and I don't know how far it was, probably like 70-ish pages again. And then the other one, which I'm so disappointed about because this was one that was on my historical fiction TBR. It is Shadowed Loyalty by Rosanna M. White. I also got about the same. I think I was about 70-ish pages in. This one sounded so interesting. Our main character, her name is Sabina, and she, right at the beginning, very first chapter, like hit the ground running here. In the first like page, her father is being arrested. He is a Italian mobster with the Italian mafia in New York, and turns out she's been betrayed by the guy that was her boyfriend, although she's also engaged to a different guy. He was an undercover cop, the boyfriend, and it sounded like it had an interesting premise. There was like a little bit of an allusion to like some Catholic background as far as like the religious side of things here, but there was like one scene where the man who was her boyfriend, there's like a scene with a prostitute that was kind of, it didn't really share much, but like why was that in there? it could have even been alluded to a little bit more vaguely than it was. And I just wasn't enjoying the writing. It took me 4 days to read 74 pages. And normally I read a book within 2 or 3 days if I'm enjoying it. So I knew it was putting me in a reading slump, so I had to quit this one as well. So that's a lot of DNFs. Now, let's go on to my favorite book of the year so far. I've been talking about this one in the last few videos. Now I'm going to officially talk about it. All manner of things. So in this one we follow Annie, not Maggie, like I was confused about in the mid-year freakout tag, I think it was. She is 18 years old and she's decided to work at a diner for the summer / she wants to be a librarian actually, but she doesn't know what she needs for that, so she's just gonna work for now. And her older brother ends up signing up for the Vietnam War. Also, she's got a younger brother, and then their father left them with their mother 12 years prior because he's dealing with a lot of trauma from the Korean War. And so her brother Mike, that goes off to the Vietnam War, he is worried that he's going to turn out like their father. And there's a lot of conversations about faith and letters back and forth. And Annie is, like I said in that mid-year freakout tag, she's my favorite character that I've read about this year because she just handles situations with such grace. Like, not that she even knows the best thing to do always, but she's always trying to do the best thing and trying to keep, I don't know, she's like keeping her head on straight. And I enjoyed reading about her faith and her trust. And this has a lot going on. So not only is there the Vietnam War, and then there's like some of the stuff with their dad from the Korean War and his issues and the single parenting. Then there's also a grandfather that seems to have either dementia or Alzheimer's. And then there's a character in here who is black in the 1960s. So there's that whole element. There's a lot going on, but it didn't feel like, you know, sometimes when an author like, oh, I'm gonna quickly squeeze in this issue as well, and you can feel like it feels like it was kind of, oh yeah, like an afterthought, like I want to have all these issues so that it's a really good book. It didn't feel like that at all. It all went really smoothly, and it all kind of had a greater purpose, and I really enjoyed it. All these green tabs, because green is one of my favorite colors, those are like things that were favorites of mine. Pink is usually something I really love, and blue is sometimes good writing, sometimes it made me cry. Oh yeah, like, okay, so oh my goodness, can I even read this scene? I don't even have anyone with Alzheimer's or dementia in my family, like this doesn't even hit home. But so she goes to hug her grandpa, and he put his hands on my shoulders, pushing me away so he could look into my eyes. Do you know why I kissed you 5 times? He asked. Why? Because I forgot how to count. So that's like a minor part of the story, but oh my goodness, seriously, this book is really good. If you don't even like historical fiction, I would recommend it because it doesn't feel like historical fiction. We've only got one point of view, we've got one timeline, which I feel like so often historical fiction is multiple of each. And yeah, so good. Highly, highly recommend it. And I think I'm going to talk about it in my next video because I think after this I'm going to film my favorite Christian fiction books of the year, so it's just going to continue being in every single video. Okay, let's go on to middle grade. I'm trying to decide which one to talk about first. Let's do this one. So the Dreamkeeper Saga, I got this one sent to me by Crossway Books, and I was excited about that because unlike Thomas Nelson, if you're getting something from Crossway, you can feel confident that there's actually going to be a faith element in it, whereas Thomas Nelson has just kind of, all their clean books are now Christian. So this is a fantasy, middle grade fantasy story, and the opening scene was really great. I read this first paragraph to my daughter. It says, Lily McKinley trudged into the house, plodded to the kitchen, and froze. On the counter in front of her, with its barbed tail curled like a question mark, a dragon gobbled her mother's crockpot chili. So you jump right into the fact that all of a sudden there are dragons. This girl can see dragons, and her father died a few months ago, so she is also living with a grandmother with like memory problems, and her mom, who's now newly single. So it has slight vibes of this, and she gets taken into this fantasy world because she is the steward of something. I don't remember all the terminology, and so she's got a quest she has to go on, really. And unfortunately this book fell short for me. I think I gave it 3 stars. I want my daughter to read it because I think this might be a middle grade book that middle grade kids will like more than adults. It felt just a little juvenile for me to like. But I told her I'm not telling her any of my thoughts. I want her to go read this and then tell me what she thinks, and then I'll share my thoughts with her. So this is going to be on her grade 7 book list. I normally have done that previously, like I've shared a book list on my homeschool channel, but I'm kind of minimalizing, maybe is the right word. I'm probably going to do that over here this year. I'm going to share a bunch of books that I want her to read this year. This is going to be on it. Okay, now a middle grade book I really enjoyed, and this is York. I'm on book 2, The Clockwork Ghost. I read book 1 March of last year is what my Goodreads says. So it is a middle grade alternate history steampunk-esque sci-fi-ish series. It has a lot going on and it is so good, and I have solely done this series on audio. I'm actually currently listening to book 3, and I did book 1 on audio last year, and the narrator is not the same guy as, what series is that? The Series of Unfortunate Events, but he sounds very familiar to what I remember that guy sounding like, and he's got a really good voice for this series. So we follow Tess and Theo. I'm trying to remember their last name. I can't remember. They are twins who were named after the Morningstar twins. So in the 1800s, the Morningstar twins built a lot of buildings in New York, and they were very unique buildings. There's a lot of, well, this is where the steampunk aspect comes in. They built a lot of robots, and their buildings were very weird. Like their elevator didn't just go up and down, it went different ways. And so they're named after them, and they are on a mission to Biederman, that's their last name. They're trying to figure out a cipher. The Morningstar twins left a cipher. So in book 2, they're just continuing on with their friend Jamie. And I really won't say anything because so much happens in these books. Oh, cool. Because I read the book, I didn't realize like one of the ciphers, I didn't read the book, I listened to it. One of the ciphers is in here. Is there more? I didn't even realize I owned book 2. I requested it from the library to share in this video, and then I found out that I had it. Maybe I own too many books, but maybe not. Yeah, so I enjoyed that. Anne from Elizabeth Ann Reads has been reading these this month. She finished them a couple weeks ago, and she's the one that gave me the push to continue with the series, and it's a lot of fun. Honestly, so far, I think I'm like 20% into book 3. So far, it's my favorite one yet. Okay, let's do manga and graphic novels. First, we'll start with The Lottery. Shirley Jackson's The Lottery, the authorized graphic adaptation. This is a graphic novel written by Shirley Jackson's grandson, written and illustrated by him. So it's just the short story of The Lottery in graphic novel format. I really like the character profile kind of here at the beginning, getting to know all the characters. I like that when books have that. There's not a lot of words because The Lottery is a short story, so I enjoyed it. It was really good. The only thing is there's a scene right at the beginning where a woman is having a bath. So there's like 4 pages with like fully exposed nudity that I don't understand why it's in here. So I would have given it 5 stars because I think this is a powerful short story and the illustrations were good, but I knocked off a star for that because I think this is a story that I read in high school and I really took away a lot at that age, but the nudity really bothers me. It was so pointless. It has nothing to do with the story. I understand why they chose that character and they're showing them, yeah, but no. That really annoyed me. Okay, then I continued with Snow White with the Red Hair. This is volume 3. So, just loving this series as well. I think I've been giving all of these 4 stars. Snow White with the Red Hair originally ran away from her kingdom, county, I don't even know what it's considered, because the prince wanted her for his, I don't know, selection of girls, one of his concubines, I guess. And so she ran away. She fell in with these other people that were kind of in the forest and became friends with them. And then she finds out that one of the guys that she's become friends with is actually the second prince of the kingdom that she's now in. And she ends up being his friend and becoming a herbalist for the palace, and we follow their story. I really like how at the beginning of each of these volumes there is a different version of a scene. So there was like a Cinderella version, this is the Peter Pan version. Yeah, I don't know, it's just fun. And then also what this author illustrator has is they're kind of like, blanking on the word, annotated, because every chapter I think this is a she, has some thoughts of the chapter, like how she wrote it, why she wrote it, what she was inspired by, and that's always very interesting. So we could just continue following Snow White, whose name I keep forgetting is not actually Snow White though. It starts with an SH though. And we follow her and Prince Zen. I'm so bad at names. Wow, and I cannot find her name. So anyway, we follow her and Prince Zen. And yeah, I think there's 20 volumes, so I'll keep going. And then the last manga I read, Spy Family, volume 7. So this is the last one that is currently published, but if you go online, you can read more. I think I'm just going to continue waiting for the physical copies to come out, which is maybe kind of hard because they come out chapter by chapter. And I know that there's a lot more available online. So there's a lot I could be catching up on. But I just love the physical books. So Spy Family, we've got a spy who has, unknowing to him, married an assassin and adopted a daughter who is a telepath. And this book, we follow the boy a lot who Anya is supposed to be getting to know so that her dad can get to his dad. And we had a decent amount of Anya, I still don't really know how to say her name either. She's so cute. Like, I just get so hung up when it gets to these pictures. We also had a decent amount of Frankie. He is the, I don't know, he creates gadgets, spy gadgets for Lloyd/Twilight, and he wanted to rescue a cat because this girl he maybe has a crush on or something, her cat went missing, and I really like this one. So it's just a fun read. I'm really enjoying this series. And then I finished one nonfiction book this week, and that is Love Your Church. This one was gifted to me by one of my pastor's wives, and I really did enjoy it. I think I forgot to rate this one on Goodreads. I haven't been putting my nonfiction in as I read it because I don't like to see it sitting there. I don't like to be reading a lot of books on Goodreads, so my fiction, because I've been reading one at a time, it's been working out well. My nonfiction, I've been trying to put in afterwards, but sometimes I forget. So this is 8 great things about being a church member, and it goes through like serving, okay, belonging, welcoming, gathering, caring, serving, honoring, witnessing, and sending. And this book, I wish I would have had 10 years ago. I think if I would have actually listened to what it said, I think it would have changed my life. Now, the church that we go to, reading through this and knowing where I'm at now in life, I feel like this is a lot of what I'm trying to do. Not that I'm doing it perfectly. It was good to have some reminders, but it's not as, oh, like light bulb moments like I think it would have been 10 years ago. A couple paragraphs that I really liked. It says, "The gospel should naturally lead us to exuberant joy as we consider what God has done for us in Christ. And it is the context of the church that this joy is caught, experienced, and increased." So I really liked that one. And, okay, this is a longer paragraph, but I really like it. It's the beginning of the serving chapter. "Followers of Christ are not spectators in the church, but servants in the church. As a Christian, you shouldn't think of your church as the place where I listen to sermons, but as the place where I serve. To be sure, listening to sermons is important, but church members are contributors to the ministry of the church, rather than consumers of that ministry. And contributing involves your time, talent, and treasure for the health and growth of your church." So, highly recommend this one if you're looking for a good nonfiction. And it's also, I think, would be a really good one for like a book club or going through with like a small group with your church. So there you go. I feel like I was very up and down. This week I had some excellent reads, like a favorite of the year, and Spy Family, which is always so much fun. But then a lot of duds and kind of like disappointments. Like this one, I still gave it 4 stars, but I'm still disappointed in it. Yeah, yeah, so let me know what you've been reading this last week, and I will talk to you guys soon.